Hi, everybody. Hey, how's it going, you guys? I see the chat box going crazy. So happy you guys are on live. I am super, super happy about tonight's topic. Can you guys hear me okay? Just a quick little sound check. I've got my headphones on so I don't wake up the baby. I get a little loud talking about leadership because I love it so much. Hi, Jenna. Hi, Anya. Hi, Courtney. Hey, Crystal. Hey, guys. Okay, well, first of all, happy International Women's Day. Shout out to lots and lots of women on this team. You guys are amazing. I hope you guys have had a great day. So today I am really excited to be the one to present this topic. And let me first say there is a little poll that I would like for you to take a quick peek at. Simply just asking where you're at in your leadership journey right now. It's totally anonymous, but I'm guessing it'll be about half and half, the results. So I want those of you who are on this training night to know that if you're not leading this big old team, I want you to know that you're not alone. And I also want you to know that this is still a topic for you. So sometimes I think people shy away from learning about leadership because they don't feel that they have people to lead. And in my opinion, if you wait until you have people to lead in order to learn about leadership, you are cutting yourself and your team a little bit short. So I want you to feel comfortable here. I want you to feel challenged. I want you to feel comfortable, maybe not be the best word, but I want you to feel challenged, and I want you to feel like you're in good company, even if you don't have this giant team to lead. Now, others, you guys might be leading teams. You might already be in a mentorship role in this business. So I do have some news for you. If you have any challengers, you are a leader. You know, I mean, you're a leader in other aspects of your life, I'm sure, but for sure you are a leader in this business if you have challengers. So just because you don't have a massive team or even a small team doesn't necessarily mean you are not a leader. And so tonight, this call really is geared towards newer leaders or people who are not quite leading a team yet. And I'm really passionate about this about this topic, because it's what I see kind of that stalls people. It's this topic and this sort of umbrella of leadership that sometimes really scares or intimidates people. And so I'm really excited to bring some really key concepts that I've learned over my 5 years as an entrepreneur in this business, but also just some really key concepts that have really encouraged me in different stages and phases of my leadership. My goal here tonight is to give you a lot of confidence in taking action towards leadership. Okay. So again, whether you're a seasoned leader, someone in a mentoring role right now, or if that really intimidates you and might be part of the reason why you haven't grown a team yet, I think you're going to find some great information and some great encouragement tonight. So I've got my decaf. I hope you have a pen and at least a notebook, or maybe you're typing on your computer. But I really want to challenge you to be a student on these team calls. Not because I wrote the book on leadership, not because I'm the end all be all on this topic, but just because I think I might be able to offer you something, as well as every presenter on our Thursday night calls. I hope you come hungry and ready and open to learn something new or to hear something in a different way. So let me know in the chat box when you've got pen, paper, when you're ready to be a student for the next 20 minutes or so. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet, maybe 30 minutes max, but let me know in the chat box when you are ready to go, and I'm going to look at the poll. Oh, look at that. Split down the middle, 50%, 50-50. 50% of you are leading other people currently. 50% of you are not leading people yet. Okay. Okay, awesome. You guys are amazing. Awesome. I'm happy to be here with you guys. So I'm going to pour this out. I've got my notes down here, so if I look awkward, that's why. I'm just human and I can't remember all this stuff, so I have to write down notes so I don't skip anything. Okay, so this is all about growing your leadership legs. This is certainly not a training that is a black and white path to, leading a dynasty. There are so many different ways to lead. There are so many different personalities that come into play and that sort of determine your leadership style. But I think what I really want to get across here is that each of us are responsible. Hey, Alicia, each of us are responsible for our own leadership growth. I'm going to give you guys some truth bombs tonight that might kind of hurt a little bit. I know they hurt me when I read them and chewed on them in my personal development with leadership, because I've dropped so many leadership balls, you guys. Some of my new coaches, you guys know, man, my schedule has been just crummy. You guys can relate to that. Just things get busy, but that doesn't mean I'm not a good leader. That doesn't mean I don't have room to course correct. That doesn't mean just because you aren't considering yourself a great leader doesn't mean you don't have room and a chance to grow in that area. So I want you to clear your mind of any negative mindset that you have towards yourself as a leader. I want you to clear your mind of any limiting belief. I want you to just have an open mind. I want you to have clear eyes, and I want you to be super positive in this next 20 minutes. Okay. So we're talking about growing your leadership legs. Before I dig into the next slide, I want to remind you of this quote that has stuck with me for years. And it's something that Jeff Hill said, and I'm sure he didn't totally make it up, but it's something that has always stuck with me. And he's the one who said it first. And I already said it, but it's the start that stops most people. It is the start that stops most people. And that can apply to so many things. It can apply to our fitness journey. It can apply to our, clean eating or healthy eating journey. It can apply to whatever the thing is. And it absolutely can apply to our business in terms of the potential of this business. You can earn a really great income from being great at retail and helping our challengers get amazing results. That's all honorable work and really, really fulfilling work. But you tap into the beautiful potential of this business when you begin to build a team. And in order to build a team, you have to lead others. And so that leading others piece, that is the area of getting started in the area that stops most people, because it's intimidating. People doubt themselves. People feel awkward leading. People don't quite know what to do, or if what they're going to say is going to be good enough or effective for that person to see success. So it's the start that stops most people. And so growing your leadership legs, there could be a lot of fear associated with leadership. There can be a lot of, again, I've said this word a lot, but because this is how I felt in the beginning, a lot of intimidation around becoming a leader and exercising this leadership muscle to get going. So here, let me tell you this too, before I dig in. The secret is not to be afraid. Okay, so it's okay to be afraid, or it's okay to feel intimidated. I'm not going to tell you, well, don't feel that way, or the secret is just to not be afraid, to be bold and to be courageous, that's actually not the secret. The secret is to use courage to overcome the fear. And I know that's a little bit preachy, and I know that's something you probably would read in a personal development book, but that is the absolute truth. It's not about not being afraid. It's not about not feeling intimidated. It's not about not feeling less than or not good enough. It's not about that, because those are honest, true feelings that we found from some, path in our life. But that's not the secret to success. The secret to success is to use courage to then overcome that fear. Okay, so the first concept, and I'm very teachy because that's how my brain works. And so I'm going to teach here. And again, these are not my concepts. These are concepts that I've grabbed from various sources over time that have really stuck with me and have given me the fuel and continue to give me the fuel to lead in my business. So I am a former top 10 coach. I'm a 5-time elite coach. I've been elite every year that I've been a coach with our team. I am a 15-star diamond coach with amazing leaders on my personally sponsored team. So in terms of, it takes a lot of leadership. And you guys, I can promise you, with the amount of leadership those goals take to accomplish, that journey is chock full of failures and shortcomings and whoops, and I missed that, and I said that the wrong way, and I feel awkward about this. So trust me, I hope you're feeling that with me. I hope that's why I kept it super casual, because I want us to, I always say this, but I truly want us to feel like we are sitting down, having a coffee, grabbing a green tea, and just talking, because this is truly what has changed my journey as a Beachbody coach, is the leadership piece. Okay, so let me dig in to the teaching part. You increase your capability, what you are capable of, by using courage to overcome the fear. Okay, so look at this little formula I created here. You make a commitment to something. You can swap that word commitment with a goal. You have a goal, right? But it kind of scares you. When you make that commitment, let's just say it's Diamond Coach. Let's just say it's Success Club. Let's say it's 15-star. Let's say it's top 10. You make this commitment. You have this big goal. And then immediately you're feeling a little nervous or scared or intimidated or afraid. And so then it's going to take courage in order for you to overcome that fear, right? So when you use courage to overcome that fear, you begin to act. And then as you begin to act, you then begin to build this capability, because you're acting. Mainly you're practicing, right? So you begin to act, take action, which means you're practicing the behaviors that are going to be necessary for you to reach your commitment or your goal. As you practice these behaviors, you start to develop this capability. Then all of a sudden you realize you're capable of something you were afraid of. And then when you develop that capability, all of a sudden you have this confidence. Okay, so I hope that really makes sense. If you can think of it, I wanted to make a circle, but I couldn't find that in Canva, so we made a line. So think of it as a circle, right? You make a commitment, a goal, set a goal. You then have to find this courage to apply to that fear in order to follow through with that commitment. As you start to act on the behaviors that are necessary to fulfill this commitment, you start to develop and build this capability, right? When you develop this capability, you immediately, it gives me goosebumps, because you immediately have this inward, innate, no one can take it away from you, confidence, because you prove to yourself that you are capable. And then as you have this confidence, you have kind of this boldness, this courage to then make a new commitment, to make maybe even a bigger goal. Like for instance, let's talk about rank, because that's really easy to sort of picture in your mind, right? So at first you're like, okay, I'm going to sign up as a coach, right? That's my first commitment. That's a little scary. I'm really intimidated, but I'm going to be courageous. I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to learn these vital behaviors. As I do these vital behaviors, it's not as scary as I originally thought. So then I have confidence. Then I'm going to do it a little bit more, right? So then you start to build your business. Then you become an Emerald coach, and you're like, okay, I get the hang of this. I'm developing this courage. I'm going to exercise these actions, this behavior, so that I can, become more capable. And then as I see that I am an Emerald coach, I see that I am leading a team. I see that I can help other people. I have this confidence. And then, okay, well, if I can do Emerald, then I could do Diamond, right? Then if I can do Diamond, I could do 1-star. If I could do 1-star, I could do 5-star. If I could do 5-star, I could do 15-star. And hey, maybe I'll do top 10 too, right? So you see where it starts. But let me just read this paragraph, because I don't want to miss anything. You increase your capability. I should say we. All this should be we. We increase our capability by using courage to overcome fear. The more capability you create for yourself, the more confidence you will have. Then you will make more commitments. Love that, because it's so darn true in our journeys, right? It's so super true in 80-day obsession too. I'm not sure where you guys are at in your journey with 80-day obsession, but in the beginning, 80 days is like, oh my gosh, this is really hard, because that's a long program. Like 80 days feels like an eternity when you've been doing 21 days, right? And then all of a sudden you think of this new way of eating and this time nutrition and only so many yellow containers and no sugar containers and whatever, and no cheats until reef day, which is not really a cheat. It's more just like a, like a healthy, I don't know, some alternative, So it's like this mindset of like, oh, I don't know. But then what happens as you start to learn these workouts, as you start to get to the hang of your nutrition, the timing of it, and then you find some recipes that are kind of actually something that you really enjoy. So it's like not so bad, not so bad, not so bad. Then all of a sudden you're through phase 1. And then all of a sudden you're through phase 2. And then before you know it, you're finishing out phase 3. And originally you were like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do an 80-day program. And then you're like, man, why is it only 80 days? I wish it was 360 days. Okay. So that's the first concept I want you guys to remember is the goal is not to be afraid. The secret is not to just not be afraid. It's to apply this courage to your fear so that you can overcome it. And as you apply action to this commitment that you've made, you then develop and build these capabilities. And as you have these capabilities, that confidence is really built. So let me take like a little bit of a left turn here, because this is another big, big, big obstacle when it comes to growing our leadership legs. And these are some of those like kind of little gut truths that I've heard in my personal development that kind of made me stop and say, you know what, that's actually true. And I'm guilty of that. So big trap here is the perfection trap. I call it the perfect trap for never growing your business, is needing things to be perfect. And you know what? All of us struggle with this at some point. Some personalities are a little bit more, intense about this perfectionism. And I know a lot of us struggle with this because I know a lot of us have talked about this over the years for those of you who have been coaches for a while. And you can apply it to anything. Like, okay, well, I'm not going to post this until I can find the right wording, or I'm not going to post this concept or this idea or this story of mine until I have the right picture. Or I'm not going to create this free group because I want it to be perfect first. I need to work on a few more videos. I need to get, the lighting in my house is not quite right, or maybe it's, you guys can apply it, but I'm going to keep going just for sake of the concept here. It's the challenge group. Like, okay, well, I'll just stay with my sponsors challenge group because it's a little bit easier. And then maybe when the kids kind of fall into a better routine, then I'll have a little bit of time to create my own thing that I love, and then also with my coaches, I'm not really going to invite to my team yet, because I'm just not really sure what my team name is. So I want that to be perfect first. So I'm just going to wait for that. And then once I do have a couple coaches, I'm just going to wait to connect with them because my upline kind of has more resources. So I'll probably just use those for now, which is totally fine, but I won't really connect with them that much because I want it to be perfect. Like I want like my video space to be perfect, and it's just not perfect right now. So I'm just going to hold off. Okay. So all of us have dealt with this. All of us have. So don't feel guilty. Part of it is just admitting that that's kind of where we're at sometimes. So let me give you guys a couple of my truth bombs here, and they're not mine. I can't own them. They're just from various smart people. Here's the thing with perfectionism. And this, especially in this business, but I would venture to say in life, we have to be at peace with imperfection if we're ever going to get anything done. And that is so super true. Perfectionism is for scared people. Okay, let that sink in a little bit. Perfectionism is for scared people. And if you think about it, you can say to yourself, that is so true. Because why? If you're a perfectionist, what you do is you have to be perfect in order to take action. So it's kind of easier to be a perfectionist because you have to be perfect. And if you're not perfect, which none of us are, then you never have to take action. Okay, so it's kind of a cop-out, and it's also for scared people. So it's kind of a double, truth bomb there, which can kind of hurt. But that's what perfectionism is. And so how many times is this true? Sometimes in my business, I've been like sort of like nose to nose with the deadline. If I was going to make something happen, let's just say it was a group. If I was going to make this group happen and people were counting on me, I just have to pull the plug and I just have to get started. And it might not be the best ever, but I have to get started. And what happens? Usually what happens is when you just kind of get started, it kind of works out a lot of times. Maybe not perfectly, of course, but it kind of works out. And sometimes it just is better than you imagine. And then you make tweaks for the next time. You just kind of get going, right? Something this person, I can't remember who it was. It's a podcast that I listened to. I really love this because it was against everything that I've ever kind of been comfortable with. And it's this third point of strive for a B minus. Strive for a B minus. Okay. So just like against everything that I've ever been raised, it's against my like innate work ethic, because to me, it's like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it all out. I'm going to do it my very best. I'm going to bring my A game. I'm going to look back at my work and be so super proud. So you might relate to that. But when you're thinking about the strive for a B minus concept, the whole point is so that you just get it done and so that you take action. When you're striving for your B minus, you're not looking for typos. You're not looking for the perfect lighting. You're not looking for, the best possible outfit for that picture. You're not looking for a foolproof, copyright for your challenge group post. Because if you waited for the perfect time, it just would absolutely never get done, right? So that's the whole concept around the B minus. And then, so you take action, you strive for B minus, and then there's always room for you to go back and proofread, or ask somebody else to proofread for typos, or send it to a success partner once it's done, just for a few quick edit suggestions. But at least it's done, right? So I really want to challenge us with this, because I have so many projects that I always want. I have it's kind of embarrassing. I have Post-it notes everywhere with just ideas that I really want to implement. And this is the reason I haven't. And it's been so convicting to me for the last couple weeks now. And I've really gotten so much done when I've just strived for a B minus. And again, it feels so good that it builds that confidence, because once you get over that fear of not being perfect, you use courage to get over the fear. Then you are in action, right? You're taking action towards the commitment, and then you're building that capability. And as you've built that capability, then you're like really confident. You're like really excited about what you have to offer. So I really want to leave this perfect trap here with you, because I want you to remember that when you're putting things off that are really important to you, or you feel are a really good project piece of your business, I really want to challenge you to strive for a B minus and get going. And to remember that perfectionism is for scared people. It's for people who are never going to get anything done. It's really easy to only accept perfect when you don't ever have to do anything. You don't want someone to, email you and say, oh, did you know that your blog post has 50 million typos? Or, oh, did you know that you used the wrong name for the trainer? Or, oh, did your link doesn't work properly? Or, none of us want to get those messages or feel embarrassed by that. Or maybe our new coach training isn't exactly what we want. So it's like, those are all the reasons why we hold back. But you guys, I think what's even worse is not putting it out there, not getting it done. So that's what I'm going to say about that, the perfectionism trap, because that's a sure way to cut off your leadership legs. And in leadership, there is absolutely no way to be perfect, because you're dealing with so many personalities. Your leadership style is going to change and evolve as you work with more and different people. And so there's really no point in putting it off and waiting for perfection, because you just have to get started. And as you get started, you will develop those capabilities that you need to be really confident. Okay, let's keep going. So let me give you some really practical, let me keep an eye on my time here. Okay, we're good. I'm going to give you some super practical and maybe overly simple advice on exactly what I did as a newer coach to build my leadership legs. So take this very seriously, because I mean it like dead serious. This is so simple, but this is exactly what I did. Okay, so here's your leadership growth plan. This is especially, this is important for everybody, but I really want our newer coaches to really sink into this. Leadership growth plan. You practice leadership everywhere, whether you have a team or you don't have a team. Now, I told you guys already, if you have challengers, you're leading your challengers. So that's a perfect practice ground for when you sign up, coaches on your team. But you still practice your leadership everywhere that you are on social media. People look to you as a leader, maybe not in the traditional sense, but when somebody follows you on social media, or, whether it be Instagram or Facebook or wherever, blog or whatever, YouTube, they're looking to you to lead the way. You become an influencer. And so you kind of lead them. And that might sound kind of silly, or it might sound kind of childish, but when they see you living your life a certain way, you're leading them and probably encouraging them to challenge the way that they live, to see if they can make any improvements. So what do I mean by practice everywhere? this is something that I personally did and I saw huge benefit from. I used my coaches' team pages as a practice ground. When I didn't have coaches of my own to lead, I use it as a practice ground. So that meant, and a lot of you already do this, but that meant when a newer coach on her team posted in a page and asked questions or needed advice, I was happy to chime in. I was happy to say, hey, this is what I've experienced, or even like, what do you think about this? Even though that person is not in my downline, doesn't affect my volume, doesn't affect my Success Club points, it still really helped me to exercise and to practice that leadership role. I mean that seriously. It might be really silly to some of you, but that is a huge thing. If you start to do that really consistently, not only are you seen as a leader within your own team, which is a really huge perk, but you truly do get to practice your leadership on other people's coaches, on other teammates, and I can't say enough about this. This is a really, really big perk, something that really helped me get my feet wet. I was really intimidated by leadership. Just because I felt like I did a lot better one-on-one as like more of an introverted person. And so I was pretty nervous being somebody that presented like this, or being somebody that was training a group of coaches. It made me pretty nervous. And so that was my practice ground. So my first tip is to practice everywhere. And I mean on our team pages. Maybe you don't have a team page, but you have at least like whoever your team is, whether it be Coach Family or Dynasty United Gather, or Imperfectly Balanced or Lionheart Dynasty, wherever your team is, practice that leadership within your team pages. Your challenge groups, I kind of already nailed that like 10 times. And then your social media platforms. You are leading your audience, whether you know it or not. Okay, so the next part, and this is probably the most crucial, is to show up predictably. I was going to say consistently, but I think that word is used way too much in the coach world, and we just kind of tuned it out. So show up predictably. I think it means the same thing, right? Be predictable. I want people to know that I'm going to show up. I want people to call me out if I don't post my 5:30 a.m. workouts, which they did all week last week. That's a good thing, right? So you want to be predictable. You want to show up predictably, because that is a leadership quality that people need to know that they can count on you. People are not going to trust you or look to you to lead them if they cannot count on you to show up. Biggest mistake coaches make is that they are unreliable. And I know that's kind of a, dagger to the heart as well. But when a coach gives the impression that they are unreliable, they are no longer easy to trust. They are no longer somebody, they have to work a lot harder to establish that leadership role with the people that they connect with. So biggest mistake people make is they sign up coaches, or they sign up challengers to be coaches, or whatever the case may be, and then they disappear. Or then they just decide, well, I'm not going to really lead. I'm just going to let them sit there. That, to me, is one of the biggest mistakes that somebody can make, because then they are sort of, they just are unreliable to that person. And that's not the kind of leader that I want to follow, or I want to be, plugged in with. I don't really like the word follow, but it's not the person I want to link arms with. I want to link arms with somebody that I can predict is going to show up every day, and maybe it's a couple days a week. I don't know what the case may be. It's the frequency is not really the important thing. The important thing is that it's predictable. And then the last thing is to have some guts. Have some guts as a leader, Here's the thing, and this is coming from fresh experience. I did not set a lot of goals in my business after 15 star and top 10. I'm just going to be really open with you guys. I felt personally that I had hit a lot of the milestones that I worked really hard for. I felt really satisfied with the recognition that I got. I felt really proud of the income that our team was contributing to. All good things, right? So like the end of my pregnancy, and then like my first year as a mom in my business, I was all in. I like hit Success of 20 to 40 every single month. So it's not like I was laying back in the pool or whatever, but I did not set personal business goals, because in my heart, and I know this is like really cheesy, but I hope you take it for what I am meaning it for. In my heart, what I cared the most about was seeing my coaches kill their goals. I wanted my coaches to just absolutely crush their personal businesses. But this is what happened. A lot of my coaches did amazing. They crushed their year. But a lot of my coaches did not set big goals because I didn't set big goals. And it's not like they're only going to do what I'm going to do. It's that I'm the leader. And so if they are not inspired by you setting big goals for yourself first, they probably will not set goals for themselves, big goals for themselves. So again, have some guts and set those big goals for yourself first, because if you don't, then they sure won't. And I'm speaking from experience. And I know that can be uncomfortable, but you reach a certain point in your leadership that it's really not about you anymore. It's, of course, it's all for your family, and you're serving a really, great purpose. But a lot of times you setting goals is really for the rest of your team. So sometimes you're like, oh, I don't really care about money, or, oh, I don't really care about rank recognition. Okay, fine. But what about your team? Right? So like you setting these goals for yourself and then working towards the action that's going to take to achieve them inspires the heck out of your team, and it shows your team what to do. So keep that in mind. Even if you're not financially motivated, or even if rank recognition is not really that important to you, that is honestly besides the point, right? As a leader, you're leading the way. As the leader, you have to go first if you want your team to tap into their potential. Okay, I could talk about that all night long. So the next thing I want to talk about, because I don't have all that much time left, and this always happens to me because I love this topic, but here's something that I hear all the time about, really about anything with newer coaches, but also especially with like starting as a leader. It's these robbers of peace and success. Robbers, they rob you of your peace and they rob you of your success. How many times have we heard or have we felt as new coaches, we're confused, we have doubt, and we feel overwhelmed? Confusion, doubt, and overwhelm. Those three things will rob you of your peace, and they will rob you of your success in this business. And here's the craziest thing. They are unnecessary emotions, but they are also a part of the process. It's like so interesting to me, because when I sign new coaches, I pretty much would bet my life that 99.9% of them, I have some sort of message exchanged or on the phone, they're feeling confused or overwhelmed. Probably every single one, every single one, right? So it is a part of the process, but it's also an unnecessary emotion. It will rob you of your peace and it will rob you of your success. I'm going to walk you through this a little bit more, but I want you to keep those things in mind. Like if you're feeling confused, if you're feeling doubtful that this business could work for you, or that you could make this business work, or that you're feeling overwhelmed, so many coaches feel like they're the only ones that feel those things. And so then they're like, oh, well, I must really suck at this, so I'm just going to quit because I'm feeling overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, you guys, like, welcome to the club, right? I mean, I think all of us can speak for that. All of us who have made it past, 6 months or a year, we all felt that way. I mean, it's just part of the process. So I kind of tell people, like, get comfortable feeling overwhelmed and feeling doubtful and feeling confused, because you are always in a position to learn. You're always in a position to grow. Okay. So I'm going to elaborate that on that in a little bit. But I think that what is so important is these feelings of doubt, these feelings of, feeling overwhelmed, these feelings of, confusion. It can very quickly flood in, right? And we forget everything else that we're feeling. We forget everything else that might be going well, or we forget every other skill set that we are learning. And all of a sudden we just focus on these three terrible things, right? But this is what we have to remember. We learn what we do. We learn what to do as we take action. So we already talked about this a ton, right, in this presentation, but we learn what to do as we take action. And I always bring this back to like my job before being a coach. I worked as a nurse for like 8 years. And it's so interesting because in nursing school, I felt like my brain was going to explode with all the knowledge and all the testing and all the practicals and all the clinicals and all this stuff. But it's nothing compared to what you learn in the field. Nothing. And I'm sure that's the same for so many other careers. It's like you learn so much when you're just actually doing and taking care of people and, just working and as you're doing your job. And it's the exact same thing with coaching. We learn what to do as we take action. And when you, wait, I'm going to stop on that thought. So I have fitness pictures up here, and you're like, why are we talking about fitness when we're talking about leadership? Here's my opinion, and take it for what it's worth. If you commit to your fitness, and I think a lot of you are probably feeling this with 80-Day Obsession, at least I hope you are. When you commit to your fitness journey, specifically Beachbody products and programs, and you stick to it, and you start to feel that confidence behind that program, meaning I will confidently recommend this program to other people because I know for sure that it works because it's working in my life, you will see that this area of your life, this fitness area of your life will spill over to the rest of your business. So if you're a newer coach and you're struggling with leadership or you're feeling intimidated, my first tip, my most important tip is to dive in to your fitness. Dive into these programs. I mean, for real though, like do the time nutrition, do the meal plan, do the Shakeology, do all the things, do performance line, because I guarantee you that will begin to develop that snowball of confidence and capability that you need to spill over into the other leadership pieces of team building and Success Club and rank and all those things. Your personal fitness, if you need an area to start, if you're feeling confused, if you're feeling overwhelmed, focus on your personal journey and share it. It doesn't have to be abs. It doesn't have to be a weight. It needs to be commitment, right? So that's why I have all these fitness pictures on here. And I have Jody on there. You can't even see. She doesn't even look pregnant, but she's pregnant in that picture. Just the template cut it off. So it doesn't really matter like where you're at in your lifestyle in terms of like, are you losing weight? Are you staying healthy? Are you maintaining a good balance? That's beside the point. The point is the commitment, right? The first part was the commitment. And then you develop that courage to stick with it. And then the more you stick with it, the more you feel, you're like, okay, I'm capable. And then as you feel capable, then you're confident, right? So, and then that spills over and over and over. Leadership is action. I pulled the group, one of the Dynasty United Gather groups today about leadership. And a lot of you shared a lot of stuff, which I really appreciate. But it was very interesting to me that so many people tied, and I know this is a part of it, but so many of you guys tied leadership with like what you do with your coaches to make them successful or what you hand your coaches in order to teach them. Here's a quick little footnote on that. This is like leadership 101 for dummies. Leadership is not a template. Leadership is not necessarily a how-to manual. Leadership is not even necessarily you teaching them anything. Leadership is action. And I firmly believe that because this is what I always say to my coaches, and they will be so annoyed because they hear it way too many times. The most important thing you can do to lead your team is lead your business. Do your own business, like crush your own personal business. That's why you will always see me striving for helping as many people as I possibly can, because I could stop at Success Club 10 or 12 and do other things or whatever, but I don't want to, because that action is what inspires other people. That action is what solidifies the leadership. I believe that for everybody. And so leadership is action. It's not a perfect template, and it's not this all-powerful knowledge of this business. When you have confusion with this business, and I want you to really listen to this because there's a lot of words here, but I want you to really listen. When you have confusion in this business and then you stop, you perpetuate the confusion. When you have feelings of doubt around your business and you stop working your business, you perpetuate the doubt. When you have feelings of being overwhelmed and you stop working your business and learning, you perpetuate the feeling of being overwhelmed. I hope that makes sense. When we take action, we learn what works and we learn what does not work, and the answer is action. So for everyone in their journey who has ever felt overwhelmed, doubtful, or confused, if all you do is stop right there, then you just perpetuate that feeling. The only way through it is to act. And I know that doesn't feel natural when you're feeling all these overwhelmed, doubtful, confusion, whatever feelings. It's not natural to push through, but that is the only way through. It's the only way to Emerald, to Success Club, to Diamond, to an income, to a level of influence that you want, whatever is super important to you. If you stop where you're feeling sort of less than or the negative feeling, you're going to perpetuate the negative feeling. So, and I say you, meaning we, it applies to me too. So, learn what works. And the only way we learn what works is to take action. I have a couple other things to say. I just want to make sure I'm not running ahead of myself. Okay. Let me just go over my notes really quick because I'm wrapping up here and I want to make sure I don't leave anything out. Okay. I'm bringing this slide back because I want to bring it back because I think it's one of the most important pieces of leadership, growing your leadership legs. Remember, this is just a quick little summary, little recap. Commitment. We make a commitment. We have a goal. Then we have to develop the courage to overcome the fear that's usually associated with that commitment or goal. Then as we develop this courage and we take action towards the goal, then we practice, and we develop this action through these behaviors, and then we develop this capability. With the capability, we build this confidence. As we have confidence, we want to make more commitments. Okay. So we've already talked about that a bunch. Here's the thing about obstacles though. Obstacles are going to be in the way. They're going to be in the way. They're going to come, whether it's in the form of a family member not being supportive, whether it's going to come in the form of you falling off your fitness journey or feeling inadequate when it comes to social media or whatever, or you had a bad experience with somebody on social media. Maybe somebody was a total jerk to you, or maybe you felt like a complete idiot when you talked to somebody. There's so many, there's so many obstacles. Here's the thing, you guys, obstacles are the raw materials for growth. They are. It's the raw material for growth. Without the obstacle, you'd already be at your goal. So it's like, why are we so surprised when we come across these obstacles? Like the obstacle's the way, right? It's so true. Without the obstacle, you'd already be where you want to be. And so confidence is built by accumulating and overcoming the challenges. It's not because of the accomplishment. That's what a lot of people think. Like, okay, well, this person's really confident because she's accomplished all this stuff. Like, let's take rank, for example. Like, oh, this coach is really confident because she became a 15-star diamond coach with her team. And that's super awesome. So that's why she's confident. No, that's actually not why she's confident. She's confident because of the obstacles that she had to overcome in order for her team to achieve that goal. That is so true. That's a mic drop, and that's not even mine, so I can't take credit for it. But confidence is built because of the obstacles that you overcome in order to achieve the goal. It's not the goal. It's not the goal. It's not elite. It's not diamond. It's who you have become in order to accomplish that goal. And I'm getting ahead of myself because I love that concept. But leadership is example and influence, right? So that means all of us can be leaders. And I know this is a little preachy and I don't mean it that way, but leadership is so important because every one of us can start leading right now or start leading more intentionally right now. It is example and it is influence. Remember, it's not the perfect template. It's not all the knowledge. It's not the perfect formula to become an elite coach. That does not matter. That does not matter. Leadership is example and influence. So here's my challenge to you. And I'm going to give you a call to action on another slide. So don't feel like you have to write this down. But remember, we talked about setting big goals for yourself, right? That was one of the things, one of the 3 little bubbles that I had for you. So set and keep big commitments to yourself, not because of the end result. It's not because you want to earn more money. It's not because of you want to be a 15-star diamond. It's not because of the 20 pounds you want to lose. Set big commitments and keep those big commitments to yourself because of who you need to become in order to get that result. Does that make sense, you guys? And again, I know it's a little preachy, but this is super true. Because if all we have our eyes set on is the money goal or the rank goal or the pounds, it's going to be really temporary. But if we're really focused in on the person that we need to become in order to achieve that result, that is where the reward is for sure. It's the journey. And I know we've all heard this, but it's true. Set and keep big commitments to yourself, not because of the end result of money, rank, or pounds, but because of who you need to become in order to get that result. So as a little bit of a recap here, leadership growth plan, I have it in black bold right here, crush goals in your personal business first. We're talking about leading a team, right? And so a lot of times when you're leading a team, especially when you're new to leading a team, it can feel very overwhelming because most of us want to serve and love our coaches. We want them to feel so supported and we want them to not have a want or care or question in the world. And so a lot of times what happens is we just are basically all hands on deck for anything they need. And that's really great. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, per se. But here's the thing that happens. A lot of times in new leadership roles, people neglect their personal business, their personal fitness, their personal success club, their personal rank advancement, because we only have so many hours in the day, right? And the time that they have to build their business, they're pouring into their new coaches and nothing else. That's where you go wrong. And that's just the truth. That's where you go wrong, because if you do not crush your own personal business first, you are not leading the way for your team. So what will happen is when they sign a coach or 5 coaches or 10 coaches, they will neglect their personal business and pour only into their coaches. And that will only last for so long. You have got to crush goals in your personal business first. And I'm telling you, I can promise you, you crushing your personal business is a better example to your team than any template, any Q&A, any video that you have to offer. You crushing your personal business first is a better example, 100%. So practice leadership everywhere, in your team pages, in your team's team pages, in your challenge groups, on your social media. Show up predictably. The biggest mistake coaches make is that they are unreliable. So show up predictably. And I mean on your social media. I don't necessarily mean just on your team pages. That's important too. But show up on your social media, like be there. I mean, one of my new coaches, Alicia, she does an amazing job of this. I know she was asking in the page before about like interaction. That'll come, man. Like you just show up predictably. People will start to count on you. People will see you. People will begin to see that they can count on you. When they feel like they can count on you, that's where the trust comes. And then when the trust comes, they then see you as a leader and you become influential. And then the last part of this growth plan as a leader is to have some guts. Remember, you set the big goals for yourself first, because if you don't, then they sure won't. And that means your team, right? So you set the big goal. So leadership duplicates. Remember, we talked about what leadership isn't. Leadership is not a pretty perfect template. Leadership is not all the FAQ knowledge in the world. Leadership is not like 10 ways to be an elite coach. It's not necessarily all those cut and dry, black and white how-tos. Leadership duplicates. And it really is more about who you become than it is about what you know. And so I want you to take that to heart. I don't want you to take that as fluff, because I firmly believe this. A leader is somebody who just becomes the person that they need to be in order to lead the kind of team that they want. And that takes intention, that takes discipline, that takes showing up predictably. You guys, don't wait to learn about leadership when you have a big team. Start now, because as you develop those leadership skills and you learn about the kind of leader you want to be, I guarantee you will begin to draw more and more of those people and those conversations and those success partners to you, which will then make you mindful and aware of more people that are like-minded for you to join, for them to join your team. So my call to action for you guys, because I have to hop off here because I'm going a little long. I told you I can talk about this all night. So here's my call to action, these 3 bubbles again that got really blurry. So I want you to identify one way in each bubble where you can lead a little bit better. So I want you to identify one way you can lead in the area of practicing everywhere. I want you to identify one way that you can lead in this area of showing up consistently. I have consistently there. That's supposed to be predictably. I told you I changed it. And then I also want you to identify one way that you can lead in like the whole big goals, having some guts kind of deal. So I want you to post them. And so I know probably like 20% of you will. It's the 80-20 rule, but I'm going to challenge that. There's like 70-ish people live, and there'll probably be another 150 that watch the recording. So I want to see, who has the guts to post. So I want you to post in the Dynasty United Gather page. If you're not in there, that's for the business builders of our coach family. The page is linked in the coach family page, Dynasty United Coach family page. And so I want you to identify. So you should have 3 total. So one area you can lead in the practice everywhere, one area that you can lead in the show up predictably, and then one area you can lead in having some guts setting goals. And then use the hashtag leaderlegs because I really want to read them. So you guys, if you have any questions on leadership, I'm happy to take them. I just really want you to remember this whole commitment, courage, capability, confidence. That's how leadership works. And none of us, if anyone makes you feel like they know exactly what they're doing, they don't. It's a smoke screen. Nobody knows exactly what they're doing. Leadership is always evolving because it involves people. And when people are involved, personalities change and you have to adapt. And social media is changing all the time. So it's another example of just, we have to be fluid. So don't feel like you're behind. You can't be behind. It's impossible to be behind because we're always developing and growing. Does anybody have any questions? I'll take I'm bending over because my clock is covered for time management. So I could take like 2 or 3 minutes of questions. Does anybody have anything that you want to talk about? Sorry, leader legs. I'll go to that page. That's smart. Thanks, Crystal. Leader legs. Hashtag leader legs. Just identify 3. You're welcome. Thanks, you guys, for hopping on with me live. I appreciate this. Remember, strive for a B-. I think that's big. Don't worry about the typos. Don't worry about the perfection. Oh, good leadership books. Okay, so Entre Leadership is really great. I'll type it here too. Entre Leadership. I think that one's really, really great. I personally feel, okay, this is my opinion. There's a lot of leadership books out there, and you could probably just Google it, or you can ask some of our teammates who probably have read really great stuff. Here's my thing about leadership. It's kind of the cool thing about this business is we lead in so many various ways, right? We lead people with helping them with confidence. We lead people with helping them overcome objections. We lead people in social media. We lead people in conversations. We lead people in all kinds of different areas. So I kind of feel like every book is a leadership book. I know that's kind of silly, but sometimes what you will find with leadership books is they're really more geared towards like manager sort of corporate structures. And so that's not always super applicable to our business structure. Not that they're not always great, but that's just my experience. There are definitely a few that are really, really great leadership books that apply. I just feel like you can turn any book, any personal development book into a leadership book. If you just think to yourself, how can I pass this on to my team? How can I apply this to me leading? How can this make me a better leader? That's what I'm always asking myself when I'm reading. I'm like, okay, how can I apply this? So like Objection is the Way, Get Over Yourself, like social media books, they're all leadership books. So maybe think of it that way. But if you need specific help with how to talk with your team or how to, Google some leadership books. I personally really loved Entre Leadership. So I'll just leave it there. Awesome. You guys are awesome. Okay. So I've had no interaction from others. I show up every day and call out. It takes time. I mean, Christina, you're a new coach. So here's the thing. And I'm not speaking specifically to you, Christina, but just for topic's sake. I see a lot of people say, okay, well, I'm showing up on social media. I'm posting 3 times a day. My stuff's pretty good, but nobody is biting or nobody's like interested, or the same people are seeing my stuff every day. Here's my question. Who are you reaching out to? Who are you going and finding and commenting thoughtful comments on, liking their stuff, getting to know them, sending some messages, returning messages? There's way more to the picture than just posting something and expecting, whatever, a plethora of interaction. So that's social media, and that's part of our work. It's like same thing with Instagram. You can't just post on Instagram and expect it to get 1,000 likes, right? First of all, that takes time. So there's nothing you can do to rush the time it takes. You have to consistently show up. And that can be some of the most frustrating parts for some people because their content is good. They're being consistent. They just can't rush the time piece. So if you're doing what you need to be doing, then have faith and just keep doing it and trust the process that this will build, that you will find like-minded people. But make sure you're doing your part to go find like-minded people. Don't just wait for people to come to you. I hope that helps a little bit. Okay, this is a very part-time for me still, as I have a baby and a full-time job. If I start a team, what are some suggestions of the best things to focus my time on with new coaches to be reliable to them? Okay, yeah, great question, Kristen. So if it were me, knowing the schedule, I work a full-time job at home and with a baby, and it's still chaos, right? So for me, I would have something predictable on the calendar, like when can they talk to you, So maybe that's every Wednesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Or maybe you host a Zoom call every Sunday evening, whatever works for the family, but make it predictable. And sometimes people aren't going to show up, but you show up anyways. That's leadership, right? For me, like my PS team, like I hosted Zoom calls twice a week, every single week for a very long time. And in the beginning, nobody showed up, but then, months, years, weeks into it, everyone showed up. And so you have to just build that consistency. Kristen, for you, I would just simply say, what cannot be replaced is that one-on-one interaction with your new coaches, meaning they have to have some way to ask questions or to get in touch with you. And so maybe that's through an app, maybe that's through a team call, maybe that's through a Zoom. You get to decide what that is, right? So I think that it's going to change for everybody, but there's so many different things that you can do according to your schedule to still show up. And even if it's small things, you can still do a lot with that, just creating that predictability for your coaches and your team. Not to mention like creating hubs of resources. That's the whole reason I created a YouTube channel, was to create video that answered common questions for my team and just put it online. That way everyone could access it no matter when they had the question. If they had the question at 2 a.m., they could go to my YouTube and find the answer. So that's kind of what I did, and that helped a ton. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Any other questions, you guys? You guys are awesome. Yeah. Yep. National Wake Up Call would be great. Okay. So I don't do Zoom calls twice a week right now in this season of my life, but in the past I've done it all different ways, Teresa. I've done topic specific. I've done Q&A specific. I've done, let's all talk about inviting one Zoom call. The next Zoom call, we're going to talk about social media hacks. The next Zoom call, we're going to all review each other's, Facebook profiles. The next one, we're just going to talk about takeaways and goal setting, all kinds of different things. The thing about leadership in this business is, we've already talked about this, but it's very fluid. And so you have to adapt. The hard part, and it's what takes guts, courage, is sometimes you have to just take a stab at it and see if it works, and sometimes it's going to flop. I mean, I can't tell you how many things I've done that have just totally flopped, from challenge groups to coach stuff. But you don't know until you try. And then when you try and you see that it flopped, you just don't do it again, or at least not in the same way. So you guys are awesome. I really want to challenge you guys to these identifying these three ways that you can lead, and posting in the Dynasty United Gather page with the hashtag leaderlegs. Thank you so much for hopping on with me. If you're watching the recording, I still would have really loved to see your hashtag takeaways in our Dynasty United Gather group. So we will be back next week for another really great topic. Make sure that you spread the word. I mean, tough love here, you guys. I believe we should be having double people on these live calls because it's important for the community. So I want to give you a personal challenge to bring 3 or more of your PS coaches or teammates with you to next week's call. Okay, you guys have a wonderful evening. Have a great weekend. And I'm looking forward to seeing your hashtag leaderlegs in our Dynasty United Gather page. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.